Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly video blog called Bullheaded, a review of the Houston Texans news, as well as a preview of the upcoming game matchups. So, this Sunday, the Houston Texans will be hosting the Tennessee Titans for the season finale, and it should be a great one, despite the what the records may say. Houston, of course, they're out of the playoffs. Looking forward to off season and well as into next season. The Titans, they're going to be possibly fighting for playoff positioning this Sunday, as they'll kind of holding on to their number one spot right now. But they'll definitely be trying to hold on to that. This Sunday. So, before we get into all that, let me do a quick little game recap. So, after all the Mills magic of Davis Mills winning two straight games, we finally took an L. Unfortunately, and it was a mild performance for Mills. I believe he had just about 163 yards, one touchdown, one pick for the game, and so very mild mannered performance compared to what he was doing the past two games. Just confirming, yeah, got it right on the first try, 163. So, but like I said, very mild mannered performance compared to what he did in the previous two games for the team. Coming out in the first quarter, things are kind of stalling. Three and outs, punts, things like that. Offense was just stalled. Didn't really get anything going until the second quarter when he connected with Brandon Cooks for a touchdown. And so, that took us up 7-0. And then, 49ers, they came back, kicked the field goal to get, to make the score 7-3. Third quarter, it seemed like, the seemed like Texans was about to make something happen. Had a Desmond King had a knocked away a pass on 4th and 1, but right after that, Mills threw a pick. And so, it took the momentum right back into the 49ers side, and they just kind of took it from there. They led them to a 10-7 lead, and then 10-7 became 17-7, and so on and so forth. So, um, defense, they tried their best to stop Trey Lance in the beginning of the game, but ultimately they couldn't really contain him as far as like him moving around the pocket and rushing, and they really couldn't just stop. They just really did not stop the run that well at all. So I think it was 175 yards, if I'm not mistaken, for the run, but they just really could not. That was 175. They gave up 175 on the ground, but yeah, once again, it was just bad effort defending the run. So overall, it was a promising start in the first half. And it was, really, it was just a true test, not for just Davis Mills, but for this entire group that's probably going to be, going along with him into next season. So, uh, definitely, they could have played a lot better than what they did. They should have stepped it up. So, no sense of crying over spoiler alert milk or what else, or whatever you want to call it at this time of year. So, moving on to a couple of newest items I wanted to touch on. So, Justin Reed, there was a post that was kind of floating around the internet a little bit that kind of hinted that this may or may not have been his last season with the Texans. After this season, he is going to become an unrestricted free agent. I haven't seen anything about, any extensions being worked on or stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those things where, you just might have to wait and see. Um, perhaps he's going to, test free agency out. You know what I'm saying? He's a young dude, still has a bright future ahead of him. So maybe he wants to see, like, if he lands on the squad elsewhere. Or, maybe he's just probably looking for, what I'm saying, trying to, get a little bit more money or whatever. Um, so yeah, definitely. I hope he comes back. I think he's a good safety or whatever that we'll need. But I also know that in this upcoming draft, there's been quite a few safeties and defensive backs that have been hovering, that have been listed at the spot that the Texans are probably going to be in, which is that third or fourth spot in the draft. So, um, if the Texans do cut him loose, it's probably they just wanting to start over in that position, or you know, try to upgrade if they can. And if they bring him back, then I think it'll definitely be worth it. So we'll see what happens with that. Another another news item that kind of popped up as well. Actually, probably like in the last day or two. So the Jaguars are thinking about interviewing Bill O'Brien, and so of course, the jokes were flying. One dude was like, you should let him be the GM too. So, you know what I'm saying? So, it was somebody else that was like, watch he does what Kubiak did and, go to another team and win a Super Bowl. And that was probably the funniest thing ever because, listen, man, I, I personally, I think Bill O'Brien's all right. Look, Bill O'Brien's a good coach or whatever, but I don't think the Jaguars are that competent of an organization to like just have Bill O'Brien lead them to a Super Bowl. Now, don't get me wrong; they'll probably get a couple of playoff spots here and there, but I don't think BOB is really going to take them to the chip like that. So, um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting if he goes over there. And like I said, he might get them to a couple of playoff spots. Like, somebody tweeted, yeah, I think it was Ian Rappaport. He had tweeted out about O'Brien led the Texans to division titles and playoffs. With this guy at quarterback, Ryan Mallett. He started going off Ryan Mallett, Brian Hoyer, everything he did with Brock Osweiler. And the crazy part is I quote tweeted it and I was like, that's something that a lot of people kind of forget that when he first got there, a lot of his success or playoff success was him taking like some of these you know uh, like these quarterbacks that some I don't even know if some of them are even in the league right now. I'm not sure if Oswald is still in the league. I know Hoyer. I think he's may or may not be on the Patriots still as a backup, but what I'm saying. These guys that are not like they didn't leave and just go somewhere else and ball out. Like they've had some bumpy careers or whatever. And here, O'Brien took these guys to, um, probably their best, success of their career. So, um, um, and so it's probably like, imagine what he can do with, Trevor Lawrence. But it's, it is what it is. It's nothing. There's nothing official or set in stone yet. I don't know if the I don't know who else the Jaguars are going to interview, but man, if it really comes down to Bill O'Brien, like it's going to be crazy in in those Jaguar games. The first few Jaguar games, when they come to Houston, is going to be crazy. So, um, more positive news, I guess. More positive. Um, some some positive news to start off with, at least. Um, the Texans are getting some players back from the COVID list. So according to Brooks Kubina, I hope I say their name right. Lonnie Johnson's coming back. David Johnson, Kevin Pierre-Louis, Titus Howard, Anthony Auclair, Danny Amendola, Chris Moore, Kavon Blunt. Cabina also tweeted that those who didn't return was Justin Reed and Paul Quessenberry. So this was 2 days ago. So with the with the COVID list, man, it's all types of stuff that goes on with it. So ain't no telling who's all if Reed and Christenberry will actually be back in time for Sunday's game or what's going to happen. So it's good that those guys are actually returning and everything. And yeah, it's good that those guys actually returning and get us back in full strength. Which oh, one more thing. Shout out to I have to give a shout out to the if I can find it. I seem to not can there you go. All right, so shout out to the 2021 Team Award winners. So on this list, center Justin Britt, he's the Ed Block Courage Award winner. Shout out to him. Quarterback Jeff Driscoll, Impact Newcomer of the Year. Tyrod Taylor, Impact Community MVP, and linebacker Garrett Willow, Impact Rookie of the Year. Um, so shout out to those guys for those awards. Um, well deserved honors and everything like that. So big ups to them. Now, that was my quick shout out for that. Let me go ahead and get into this game preview. So I said that as I mentioned, there's players returning from COVID lists or whatever, so it's gonna kind of get us back at a little bit at full strength. Um, with that being said, we're gonna need that strength because, as I mentioned, the Titans are definitely fighting for their playoff lives. Uh, and what I mean by that is, with the Titans, they're currently tied at the. Let's see if I can pull it up. Yeah, so they're currently tied with the Chiefs for the one spot. The Titans obviously on the tiebreaker right now. They're sitting at one. Chiefs sitting at number two. And so, coming into this game, um, the Chiefs will have already played. And so the Chiefs, they're going to be playing the Broncos. And assuming they beat the Broncos, um, assuming they beat the Broncos, then that for the time being, they're going to have a leg up over the Titans for that one spot. So with that being said, Titans are coming into town. We're going to be hosting Texans are going to be hosting the Tennessee Titans, who are trying to secure this number one spot. And this number one seed is going to be very, 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 very important for Tennessee. First off, is this new playoff format. The one seed is the only seed that gets a bye week throughout the postseason in both conferences. In addition to that, the Titans are expected to have running back Derrick Henry return. And so I think he just returned to practice this week. So it's likely he won't be playing in this Sunday's game. However, if they can, secure this number one seed and, get him, rested in time to, for that first playoff game, they could probably do a lot of damage in this postseason. And so that's where the Texans come in. We have to ruin their fun because that's just what a rivalry does. As I mentioned in the preview of the last matchup, these Titans Texans games they kind of been going either way, despite the records. In fact, I believe last year, when the Texans were completely washed out of the playoffs, the Titans came in, trying to fight for a little bit of playoff positioning or whatever, and it came down to like a last second field goal, and the game before that, last season, it went in overtime. In this particular game, Titans almost, and excuse me, in this last game, earlier in the one earlier this year, Titans almost came back and almost stormed a comeback. So it's going to be a tough game, and considering what they have on the line, what Tennessee has on the line right now, they're going to bring their best, and knowing that they got to go up against a team that's out of the playoffs, that's probably a lame duck team just playing just to play. They're going to come in here and try and run the score up, do all types of things. So where we come in is we cannot let that happen. We got to have Texans have to have some pride about themselves. So a couple of things I want to see in this game. First off, the team has to play their best game. Point blank period. And you know, it's a lot. As much as the Titans have on the line, the Texans also have a lot on the line as well. Everyone is playing for their jobs and their future right now. This roster is it's kind of coming together. They put together a couple wins over Jacksonville, put some together over the Chargers and everything to get those two straight. But now everybody has to play their best game to see like what we really have, what we can really compete with. And it starts with Davis Mills. Last week, he had the 160-yard game. Passing, threw a touchdown, threw a pick, and so with him, it has to. it has to start with him. He has to be on his P's and Q's. He's completing 66% of his passes. Um, that's up there. Amongst that's pretty much up there amongst some of the more accurate QBs in this league. So he has to really get that going for him. But that it has to be a must. Like, he has to probably play above that. Get even more accurate, improve his accuracy on that. Um, and not just him. Everybody, defense, they have to play better. They have to defend the run better. They have to defend the pass better. We know who's out there. Freaking, like I mentioned earlier, Hillard's out there, or Rontrell Hillard, I believe that's his name. He's out there. Former Texan Dante Foreman, he's out there. And he's been, having quite a few good games of his own. So, um, they have to do a better job of containing those guys, making sure they don't run all the way wild. Um, as I mentioned earlier, the players are returning from the COVID reserve list, so that's going to give us a little bit more strength, a little bit more boost, to just really get after these guys. And Titans, they still might be playing for their number one seed by the time this game kicks off. So if that is the case, then they're gonna be kicked into high gear, and it's not gonna be a situation where they're while they're playing, they're gonna try to figure out whether or not that they're still competing for this one seed. It's likely that there is not no likely to it. I'm sorry, my bad. It's not no likely to it. They're gonna know um, by the time this game kicks off whether or not they have to continue to fight for this one seed. So um, if they have to, they're going to know it before kickoff, and their energy is going to be 10 times at a different level. So we have to be prepared to match that energy and, strike back at them when they come at us. Uh, Second thing, defense, they have to stop the run. In the first matchup, Titans had 4 interceptions. Brian Tannehill threw 4 interceptions in that first matchup. So seeing that this is a game that they're going to be on high alert for, they're not going to want him throwing 4 interceptions again. They're probably going to change it where there's a little bit more running being done, and so they're going to probably use Hillard and Hilliard, one of them, whatever his name is. They're gonna use him and Foreman. I think they're gonna use both of them as like a 1-2 punch type of thing, just to like really take advantage of our poor run defense because we cannot stop the run for whatever reason. But definitely, I think they're gonna implement that strategy just so they can cut down on any mistakes that Ryan Tannehill might potentially make. And so it's gonna be, and considering how the Texans played against the run, especially last week, it's more than likely that they're gonna do that, and maybe even like throwing some short passes as well. But definitely expect them to run the ball a little bit more, and all the Texans need to do is just expect that and expect to stop it. So simple as that. So those are the two things. The team Texans, they have to play their best game of the year. Uh, against the hungry Tennessee Titans team, and the defense must stop the run. Uh, they must defend the run the best way that they can. Slow it down. Do not let it become. Do not let it become an issue at all. So that's all I got for y'all this week. I'm Brandon Simmons from BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black.